this is Emil from iPhoneographyschool.com, and I have some really exciting news to share with you today. Now, over the last few weeks, I've talked with a lot of iPhoneographers, and one thing that I kept hearing over and over again was that people are getting frustrated by apps. Now, why would anyone get frustrated by apps? After all, there's so many of them, and so many of them are really good. And it turns out that that is the exact problem in this case. There are just too many apps out there, and it's really hard for people to figure out which ones are good, which ones aren't so good, and more importantly, it's just hard to learn how to use all these apps. So for this reason, I decided to create a brand new weekly video series called App of the Week, in which every week I'll select one excellent photo app, and I'll show you exactly how to use it, starting from the very basics and moving on to more and more advanced topics. For the first week in our App of the Week video series, I want to focus on Snapseed because I believe that Snapseed is the #1 photo editing app for pretty much all basic photo editing needs. It's a great app, it's free, it's easy to use, it has a beautiful user interface, and there's just so much awesome stuff you can do with Snapseed. So without further ado, let's pick up the iPhone and let's start learning Snapseed. Okay, so now we've opened up Snapseed, and what you can see is that here on the left side we have different adjustment panels in Snapseed, which are the different modules of Snapseed. There are 14 of them in total, and we'll be covering most of them in these videos. And on the right side you see the photo. Now you only see a sample image now, which is what you'll see the first time you open the app. But if you tap on the top left hand corner over here, you'll get this image import screen where you can choose where you want your image to be imported from. You can just take an image using the camera in Snapseed, but I wouldn't do that. Then you can pick any image from your photo library, or you can paste an image if you've copied it before. Now, I'll just go to photo library, and that brings up this this view with all the different folders I have on my iPhone. And here, let's just pick this photo and let's use it. Okay, so as you can see, you can use Snapseed in both portrait and landscape, and for different purposes I prefer to use a different views, but for this video I'll just keep it in landscape so that you get more screen real estate. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is how to move around Snapseed and what to do when you get lost. Now, as you can see, there's a question mark over here, and if you tap on that, you get a bunch of information about the image. Like you can see where it was shot on a map, which is still loading at the moment. You can see how big the image is, what the resolution is, and a few more things. Okay, then once you're ready to start editing, you can just select any of these modules on the left hand side, and I'll start with automatic just to show you how it works. Now once again, if you get stuck or if you don't know what to do, you can tap on the question mark, and here it shows overlay, which is essentially just a visual depiction of what are the different things you can do in Snapseed. So it just shows you what are your options, what you can do, and how to do this. Now, as you probably noticed, one of the things you can do is swipe vertically, and that allows you to go through the different adjustments. Now for automatic, you only have 2 adjustments. You have color correction and contrast correction, which is essentially just some changes that Snapseed thinks might be good for this photo. So let's start with color. As we keep moving to the right, you can see that the colors change a bit, or if you move to the left, they become kind of warmer. And to the left, I think the colors become a tiny bit colder, and for this picture, I like the colder colors better. The other thing you can do is contrast correction, and once again, as you swipe horizontally, you can see how the contrast changes. And generally going to the left makes the image less contrasted, and going to the right makes it more contrasted. And I don't want to go too high on this because I think it's still important that you see the nose of the hedgehog quite well, so I'll just leave it at this. Now if you want to compare what you've done to the original image, you can tap on this button at the top right hand corner, and as long as you're holding it down, you see the original image. Once you release it, you see the image after the edits were done. Now if you want to, let's say you don't like these edits, what you can do is you can tap on this arrow at the bottom left hand corner, and if you do, it will take you back to the original screen of Snapseed without making any changes to the image. But if you want to save the work that you've done, you tap on this icon, which is at the bottom right, and that will process the image and save the changes for you. And now, once you're back on the home screen, you can go ahead and use any of the other 14 modules for editing this image. And just to make sure you don't forget, you have to save images manually here. If you don't do it, they're not saved in your camera roll. So to do that, you tap on the share icon over here, and here you can see the different sharing options such as social media and so on. But what I normally do is just save the photo to photo library, as I'm doing it now, and now this photo will be saved to my camera roll after all the changes that I've made. And even when this is done, I can still go ahead and select any of the other modules in Snapseed and make further adjustments and then save my changes again into a new picture. And you know what? There is one more thing I want to change in this image, and that is adding more details to it. So if we open the details module on the left, you'll see that details has just two adjustments, sharpening and structure. So let's start with sharpening. What sharpening does essentially is makes your blurred out images a bit sharper. Now it might be hard to see any difference, but if you pay a close attention to the needles of the hedgehog, and now you look at the photo with sharpening on, and now if you look at the same photo without sharpening, you can sort of see the difference. Now that we've added sharpening, you know, the little tiny details like the needles are a bit more pronounced with sharpening. Now, just to be safe, I don't want to increase sharpening all the way to 100, because what often happens is that when you take a photo like this and you open it up on a computer, if you increase sharpening or structure way too much, it might look good on the small screen of the iPhone, but once you blow up the photo to a larger size on your computer, you might see that you've actually overdone the editing. So just be careful with that. So that's sharpening. Next, let's have a look at structure, which essentially emphasizes textures and other similar features of the photos. So once again, if you want to see how structure works, you should look at the needles of the hedgehog and at the gravel in the foreground. So let's just go ahead and increase structure. And we'll go all the way to 100 at first, once again, just so that you can see what it looks like. And you know the difference is really quite dramatic. So once again, this is before changes, and this is after sharpening and structure. You can really see a lot more textures in the gravel and in the needles of the hedgehog, but once again, you don't want to leave this at 100, because once you make the image larger, that won't look so good. It will look over-edited. So to make sure that you don't go too high, you know, pick something more reasonable, something like 60 or 50, I'd say. In fact, I'll just go for 50, and let me just see the difference. So again, this is without structure and sharpening, and this is with. And you know, if you just look at the hedgehog, it looks so much more beautiful now. So let's apply changes, and once again, let's save the photo to photo library.